What is something that stood out, and what is something that you need further clarification on?
They isolated and highlighted the tiered words beyond just the basic big words, ones that would really make a difference to the understanding of the whole sentence, paragraph, whatever. And they had some pictures to go with it, and they were kind of separated out. So that's all I think.
Yes, yeah. So we're going to do a little chant so you really remember this. Could you start clapping with me, saying mileage and power, mileage and power, mileage and power, mileage and power. Thank you. Mileage. The word that was a mileage word, we had this slide up a minute ago, was settled. And the teacher actually said, you remember when we studied the colonies? We used this word. So a mileage word, you get a lot of mileage out of that word. It travels across content areas. It travels across grade levels. That's tier 2. There you go. And then settlement, you will probably never use that word outside of that particular unit about New York City immigration in the 19th century. So that's a power word. It gives you power to talk about immigration in New York City in that context. So the teachers, as you picked up on that brilliantly, that the teachers were very strategic about vocabulary selection. And that's where the collaboration comes in. The content teacher is the expert, continues to be the expert of what is my grade level goal for this particular unit. And then the ESOL teacher can support the language level of that content. So the language layer of that content, or deconstruct, I think they even said that. They deconstruct the language of the content area as they have a monthly articulation meeting. Did you notice that? Yes, okay, so let's go back to academic language. What else did you notice about academic language that stood out? Yes, please.
We were just saying that we noticed that not only did the students have a good grasp of the content, but when they were verbalizing it, you could tell that things hadn't been watered down.
Yes.
That they were presented in a way that was a higher need for them, or a higher set of vocabulary, and they were using it effectively.
Absolutely. So the strategy that you heard was not just a casual term. When you heard that's a juicy sentence, it comes from Lily Wong Fillmore. If you want to look that up, or we could even add some links to you, she has been experimenting with this in 3 school districts in Washington State, I think in the Seattle area, in Denver, and in New York City. A large-scale rollout of the idea that every single day you're going to introduce one complex sentence that's way above the student's grade level, but not shying away from language complexity. Instead, you're going to allow them to develop that tolerance for ambiguity, which is a very important trait of good language learners, and trying to make sense of complex language rather than always simplifying it for kids. So when they the principal referred to a juicy sentence, that wasn't just like, oh, a juicy sentence is a complex sentence. That's the term that Lily Wong Fillmore, Fillmore, but we would be very happy to add that to your wiki space, the article, or the PDF file, or the link. By a simple Google, Fillmore, juicy sentences, you will get tons of information about it. Yes, please.
She has a short video clip on Vimeo of a kindergarten class studying a
Yes.
complex poem of butterflies, so Google that. It's fantastic.
Exactly, the Vimeo. I'm very familiar with that. It blows your mind away how kindergartners deconstruct the most complex sentence out there in the text. But think about it. Now we're moving from word level. You see the parallel between the morning and what we're doing here? Word level, as Jane pointed out, sentence level work, being very intentional. But you can't teach every single sentence every day that we say. So being intentional about selecting one complex sentence. And then did you see the language function and the sentence starters? The kids were asked to use despite. And they had to really internalize the meaning of that rather complex sentence structure. How often do you start your sentence with despite in an everyday conversation? We don't. But in academic discourse, that's where we're getting to the highest level. Academic discourse, the language of schooling, requires us to use despite both orally and in writing. Great. Anything else about academic language? Yes, please.
to add on to that, I think that you could see very clearly that the students were very accustomed to the teaching
Yes,
sentence.
it wasn't just a show, no.
Yes, it wasn't a one-time thing.
No.
And they were able to, I mean, I could tell by the look on their face, they were just like, all right, give it to me. You know, it was
Yes,
just,
yeah.
you know, and I really like that because when kids get so excited about vocabulary and sentences, then it's like you can't give them enough,
Yes.
and they get very successful.
And the connection to what Joan was talking about, the kids have to be in the pool. It's not a spectator sport. That the teacher is swimming in the pool using these complex sentences, but the kids are never going to use the complex sentences. So we have to trust them, trust us, and offer the right amount of support. We're not giving them 2 pages or an essay with this kind of sentence structure. We're allowing them to look at one sentence and deconstruct that. Yes, please.
I was just thinking about when they first started reading it, my first was like, that's gonna be too hard.
Yes, you see?
And then I thought, but the assumption from the teachers and the acceptance of that by the students is, we're gonna do this.
Yes.
You know, like,
Yeah.
maybe, you know, it's high expectations.
Yes.
And not the assumption that they can't do it, that we're gonna have to, you know, make it so easy.
Yeah, absolutely. Now they beautifully have woven into this 2 additional strategies. We could probably spend half an hour on just that one video clip, which is actually something I suggest to you. If you do turnkey training, to use a video clip like this and literally deconstruct it from every angle that you want to. I only picked 3 possible ones. The 2 strategies I'd like to elaborate on with you is the zoom in, zoom out. Did anybody catch that? Have you come across or have you used that strategy? It's from Jeff Zweers as well. So the idea of zooming in, they did it on a photograph. So you could start introducing a difficult strategy on the relatively easy material. Linguistically, it's not that difficult to look at a photograph as opposed to looking at a poem or looking at a chapter in a book. So the idea of a zoom in, zoom out is main idea and supporting detail. So zooming in on the 2 kids who are fighting on the street, asking the students that rather than trying to describe the entire photograph, zoom in and be precise and accurate with your language. So describe the 2 kids, describe their clothing. You heard that it's dirty. Look at their faces. Look at their actions. So it's teaching the kids on a photograph how to be detail-oriented in their oral language production. Because if they can do that orally about a photograph, the idea is that we're going to transfer that skill to more linguistically complex pieces, such as now a paragraph, a sentence, a paragraph, just as Joan and Joanne earlier helped you understand the complexity of academic language. So that was the zoom in, zoom out. Again, you could look this up, or we could hopefully, if he has ever published on it outside of his book, we might be able to find an article for you. Zoom in. Jeff Zweers, the same person that Joan earlier referred to with the academic language. It's short. Z-W-I-E-R-S. Zweers. He is part of the Understanding Language team out of Stanford University. So you could certainly find a lot of their work, what they are doing there. And then the second strategy, I'll be with you in a second. The second strategy was the pre and post. Yes, so allowing the students to just take a look at it and be able to have that Carol Dweck type of good struggle. We don't want to frustrate you. That's not the point. We're not giving you a very difficult piece of text to struggle with it and then be frustrated. But take a chance, make an attempt to get anything that you can, maybe some keywords, maybe a language chunk. And then after the actual pair work and teacher-directed piece of the lesson is over, then you go back. So students become responsible for their own learning, and they reflect on their growth. So assessment was a very important part of this lesson, and we'll revisit that tomorrow. Some people wanted to add. Yes, please.
I have a question. I think this is one of my biggest struggles because I feel like that part in itself is so meaningful, so beneficial for them. And we also have such a big focus on our EOGs. Or the end of the year, we have our EOGs, and the kids are expected to do those passages that are so, I mean, grade level so complex and they won't have that support. So my biggest struggle is figuring out how to go from that support to them being on their own, reading those passages, and us seeing them, not succeed every year. You know, what do we do? How can we?
Yeah, we have some answers.
How do we respond to
Yeah.
that?
Oh, please do.
They're struggling alone and then together and then with teacher and then together and alone. And I think when we try to do it with them, for them all the time, they never get to that struggle where they can take that EOG.
Beautiful.
But if we're
I have a new
scaffolding, they can-
co-teacher. Thank you.
this is a lot more independent thinking for that student than us telling them all the way along.
And we are going to revisit this. You're a few slides ahead of me, always, right? Always somebody's a few slides. So we are going to get to the gradual release of responsibility model, which is exactly that we are not always doing it with them or for them. But when are we going to let go and allow that kind of positive, good struggle and then come back, catch them before they fall, because that's not the purpose, to set anybody up for failure or the level of frustration when you can't function. All right, there was another hand up. Christy,
I
yeah.
was gonna say that jeffsweers.org has tools
Oh, thank you.
for fostering academic interaction skills. There's tons of things just.
Thank you.
Good stuff.
You see the power of collaboration? Your link is already ready for you. jeffsweers.org. Yes. Okay. Moving along, leadership support. Anybody would like to comment on that? The principal, of course, was interviewed. What shined through this 8-minute clip about the type of leadership that you have in this building? Yes, please.
I thought it was really cool that the principal was actually involved with that classroom. So she was in there working with the kids. So that's always cool to see that she knew exactly how they did things, and she was even, I think, in the meeting when they were working together. She was also in there working with them, so she was very aware of how they planned and taught, and then she also was in the classroom working with those kids.
Yes, so she was part of the monthly articulation meeting. I don't know if you use that term in North Carolina. I hear that a lot in New York. So there are articulation forums that teachers design in which they basically meet to get the big picture of the planning, so the big idea kind of planning, and then the day-to-day planning, of course, would be taken care of on an ongoing basis. But an articulation meeting focuses on a unit of study, maybe 6 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. Here they talked about a monthly articulation meeting. And it's not because the principal was watching. The principal was part of that conversation. So I consider this type of leadership is the instructional leadership rather than the managerial. I know that principals have to do so many other things, but this is the type of leadership that really helps the co-teaching be solidified as an initiative. That is not just your problem, Alison. You'll figure it out with your partner how you're going to find the time for planning. It was really incorporated into the culture and the day-to-day existence of the building. And for the principals to be present in the classroom. I've learned that from another brilliant principal I worked with who actually regularly did walkthroughs. And what she did was she sat down with the kids and she asked the kids, not what are you doing, but what are you learning? What will you know by the end of this lesson? So the kids had to be able to articulate, not just, okay, I'm coloring in kindergarten or I'm cutting, but why are you doing that? What is it going to do to help you with the learning? So a very hands-on kind of leadership is needed for co-teaching to be successful. Yes?
Yeah, I was impressed by her leadership and also she talked about the pre and post assessments and how important they are, but for not only the students, for their learning, their growth, for them to reflect, for the teachers to reflect on what's working, what's not, what's so bad, guide our instruction. But she also talked about something that's very important. I think it's all on our shoulders, and more so maybe sometimes for the classroom teacher, because at the end of the year, you have to show, right, on our teacher evaluation, those that, your percentages, I know, what is my percentage for working with students?
Yes.
As opposed to the classroom teacher. But I think what I'm trying to say is that that's the reality, sometimes at the end, that we we argued as, the data. And I think she was honest and explicit, and she explained that it was growth.
Yeah.
That's, hand in hand, it's not the classroom teachers did more, the ESL teachers did less.
Absolutely. And this is also tomorrow's topic already, how she looked at both formative and summative assessment data and standardized assessment data as well. So really taking a look at a well-rounded approach to assessment measures and both student growth and teacher growth measured that way. Yes, please.
Another thing that we noticed was that the flexibility that we need to have in the spot. I mean, that's something that we don't have to plan. Is that when we are in the classroom, we are ready as teachers. Is that okay? We need to work with these students for the needs. You're going to take care of the vocabulary or the language, and then I'm going to work with the others. That flexibility that we both need to have in order to work with for the benefit of the students.
I'm so glad that you noticed that, because our segment now focuses on co-planning. So yes, you have to co-plan. You don't walk in there cold what you're going to be doing. Yet, it's not scripted. And the most powerful aspect of co-teaching is that there is two of you, so you can offer immediate intervention. Rather than waiting, okay, I know these kids didn't get it, well, tomorrow I'll get back to that. And you might never get back to that topic tomorrow. But because there are two of you, and you could immediately group students based on their needs, that's one of the most powerful ways that you could think about co-teaching. Now, the entire 40-minute period, especially at the secondary level, can't be like that. But if there is built-in opportunity to offer that immediate intervention, then you will truly won't allow kids to fall behind. Yes?
Well, they also show that mutual trust, because it was instant, that's like instant coffee. And they validated each other in each other's expertise, and go for it. It's like just what a few sentences, like, okay, I know I can trust you, I know what you're saying, and that was really powerful.
Yes. All right. So, please do. Yeah.
Quickly, the point is like, this worked and this didn't really come together. You're right back out on the field.
Yes. Yeah.
They don't have a lot of time.
Absolutely. So the teacher is collecting both evidence that they are maybe writing down, the students' work. Again, tomorrow's topic, looking at student work. They had their journals where they had to articulate their thoughts, and that was a wonderful way for them to go back and look at what language functions, what language elements the kids missed in their pre and post writing. Absolutely. Okay.